My name's Phil Shumshaw, and I am the co-founder of Brightside Digital Engagement. We're a social media consultancy specializing in exec communications and sales teams. And I'm joined by Emma Ewing, who is the founder of Big Fish Training, which is also a consultancy focused on training and coaching for the PR and marketing industry. So hello, Emma.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. I'm really happy to be here. I'm excited, actually.
Well, that's good to hear. So what we're going to be doing is talking about the craft of communication. So that's finding your voice and using it with impact. And obviously, this is something that you run training courses on already. So you have a lot of experiences of talking to delegates about it, senior people, junior people, and everything in between. So we're going to dive into that shortly. But one of the things I only found out quite recently is that you are a video gaming fan, and retro games and modern games as well, I understand.
Yeah.
And as you now know, I also have a podcast called Retro Titans, which is all about video games. So tell me about your passion.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, I have loved discovering Retro Titans, and it's great to be able to chat to you briefly, I'm sure, but about my love for video games, because I started, way back when video games were first coming out, and, first machine for gaming was a Spectrum, played games on that like crazy, had a BBC Micro, played Elite, but the game that first got me addicted, I suppose, is a game called Populous by Bullfrog, I think. My goodness, I don't know what was so compelling about it, but I was obsessed with that, just played it all the time. And if they brought it out now, I could probably spend the rest of my days just playing that. That then led into the Command and Conquer games. So real-time strategy, you're sending out little tanks, you're defending your base, you've got that lovely mix of aggression and defense. If you get it wrong, you have to try again. And yeah, Command and Conquer, the original Command and Conquer 2, Red Alert, all of the other add-ons like Yuri's Revenge, really great. And actually, what's quite nice, because I know you talk about it in Retro Titans, that these things are being repackaged and re-coming out for an audience who can, the gameplay is superb, and I think that transcends technology, really. So it's great that a new set of eyes is able to play that kind of stuff. Fantastic. And the other thing, I'm trying to be short, but I could talk forever about games. I won't. But the other thing that really got me and was great because it's social, so I was able to play it with my then boyfriend, now husband, and play with the kids when they came along. Adventure games, and again, that started with just the frustration of text-based adventure games like The Hobbit, typing in "take candle." It's like, there is no candle, but you had to just really, really work quite hard. It was super frustrating. But that then led to those original point-and-click adventure games like Monkey Island, The Secret of Monkey Island, which we then introduced our children to, 20 years after that. And it was just such a nice thing. So real-time strategy and adventure games were my kind of forging of computer games, and obviously that's evolved since.
Well, before I've actually got some props which you're not prepared for.
No.
So I'm going to show you a couple of things. So you're saying about point and click adventure games and things being repackaged, which I think is the wonderful thing about retro games. So
brilliant.
Holding this up to the screen. So that's might be a title you remember.
Yes.
Broken Sword.
Yeah.
Which is one of the first point and click adventure games, and one that came out of the UK. And these are the little doodads that I play on. This is a Taito Super Pocket, which is cartridge based, so you can play these cartridges in it. So there's tons of this sort of stuff, and there's another handheld there.
Brilliant!
It's a new world, and what I like about it is it's disconnected from the internet and distractions like ads and notification messages and all of that. So I like the fact that it's old school. But
wonderful! If I'd known props were involved, I would have got out my old PS and my goodness me, that's great. And Broken Sword, of course, had a reboot because we played that quite recently actually on Steam Deck.
Okay.
So they've remastered and slightly changed the game. So really good fun.
Right.
How cool!
Well, we probably ought to talk about the craft.
Yes, I know we should.
We're going to start with confidence. Now, confidence is a topic or an area that comes up a lot in our work. So we spend a lot of time helping people find their voice on LinkedIn so that they can build their profile up. And one of the pushbacks that we get is, I just don't have time.
Yeah.
Another one is, I don't have the skills, or I don't have permission with my work. But often when we start sort of scratching away at it a little bit, it's actually down to confidence and people being worried about being judged and, you know, what other people might think of them.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much that comes up in your work and what advice that you would give to people to overcome that confidence gap.
Wow, that's a big question. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think we can give, it's like anything in life, we can give lots of plausible reasons, but often at the back of it is a mindset reason. There is a psychological reason behind it, and obviously, I probably have a slight bias in a lot of the training that I and my colleagues do will ultimately lean on confidence. So even if it's not a course like becoming confident and assertive, or something around presenting or communicating with impact, it's going to lean on it, like client relationship for our agency clients, building those trusted stakeholder relationships for in-house clients. Ultimately, I mean, you nailed it when you said it's about being judged. And I think it's perhaps what I see, particularly for professionals who have either don't want to speak up. So maybe it manifests in you don't want to speak up. So maybe you don't want to post, you don't want to speak up in a meeting. Or it manifests in being concerned that when you do speak up, then you will be judged, or you will be critiqued or taken down. And it comes down to safety and the fact that actually there's not much, and there never has been much scope for nuance, which is fascinating to me, because we work, marketing and comms and PR is a world built on nuance, and curiosity and thinking. But people, when I ask people what gets in your way, and we spend a lot of time talking about it, it's like, I might be wrong. And I think there's such a fear of being seen not to know your stuff or to be wrong. And that holds everybody back, me included. You're thinking, well, what if they think I'm stupid? What if they laugh at me? Ultimately, if you're an entrepreneur, it's like, what if it loses me the client? That sort of thing really holds people back. And there's a number of ways around it. And actually, it's not just about the individual, because confidence is a team sport. It's really about the environment that someone sets up for you. So if we take you and me, you approached me about this and explained what you were trying to do and the sorts of things that we would discuss. You gave me a really good briefing. You welcomed me in. You helped me to understand what you were wanting from it, and then you set the scene really nicely. We can do that in our meetings, in our one-to-one conversations. It's allowing people the space to be heard and maybe making that opportunity, because there's something a bit mean, I think, on saying, oh, you need more confidence, and sending someone on a course, or just forcing them to, you must speak up more in a meeting, you must be more vocal. Yes, we want to build those skills, and confidence and speaking up are definitely skills that can be built. But it does require the environment to be more conducive too. As an individual, one of the things that can be really helpful to get in a mindset, and it is practice, it's gently changing that, is not what if I'm wrong, but to welcome people building on your ideas. Because we all know, I think everyone listening to this, you and I know, that often the first idea out of someone's mouth is not the best idea, but it starts the process of thinking and building a better idea. So actually, if somebody says, oh, I like that, and what about? We're normally okay, we can build that. But if somebody says, I don't know, how's that going to work? We'll perceive that as a threat. And often then, if we've had experience of that through our lives, and we'll have had it at school, we'll have had it in families, and, it's like kind of someone saying, prove it to me, justify yourself. It's really easy and safe to get in the habit of just nodding along, and then maybe doing the thing that, again, everybody does, try to fight your battle on email. afterwards. So you go to the meeting, you don't speak up, you don't challenge, you don't think, hang on a minute, I think maybe there's another way we could view this. But even you hear the language that I'm using there, it's ingrained now because I've had to learn those things over the years, is just thinking our ideas are what is powerful about us. And so confidence, I think, comes from being able to work loosely with an idea and with other people and not feel attacked. So not automatically jump in defensiveness if somebody says, but what about? Understand that language, we hope, is that we're all trying to align around what's going to work. So I think there's that. Do you want a little bit more? Because honestly, I mean, I could talk for days on this.
Yeah, no, keep going. I mean, one of the things you've just fired off a couple of thoughts in my mind as well.
Yeah, do.
Before you come back to yours, is that
I don't want it to be a monologue.
well, there's a couple of things I think of. One is I agree with everything you've said, but one of the things that comes up is so there's the culture aspect, and it's incumbent on leaders to create that culture.
Hugely.
Also, there's a thing around how you can create buddies within your own teams or outside of your teams. So peer groups and people to say, look, if you're in this idea of using LinkedIn, so if I'm going to put something out and it might be a bit challenging, share that with somebody that you trust first and get their opinion on it. I think there's a lot of work we could do helping each other out and not getting involved in culture wars and all of that aspect of it, helping each other out regardless of who it is. So I think there's a piece on that. And yeah, I mean, you just you triggered me on the don't have an argument over email or don't have the points over email, because I think I probably made those mistakes dozens of times before I finally learned actually it's not the best place to have that kind of discourse, and it's much better to just get up out your chair or just get on a video call and talk to somebody. But that's the immediate reaction to what you've just said.
Yeah, thank you. That's so interesting, isn't it? Because I think things like social media, particularly LinkedIn, you've got a limited amount of time to make often what's quite a nuanced argument. And we know that, long form stuff is all very well, but not everyone's going to read it how we want to read it. And so you put the shorter thing up, and that is going to maybe get someone's back up. And it's really easy to feel attacked. Sometimes you are being attacked. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that certain people are attacked more and certain subjects are attacked more. But for most people, it can be the saving grace for all of us is just think, okay, that's another perspective. I don't necessarily agree, but I don't need to defend my point. And I think that's where confidence comes unstuck. If you feel like, okay, the mindset around this is just thinking, can I tolerate different perspectives? And often the real answer is no, we can't. It's like,
just let something go. I mean, like, how many hills do you need to die on? Just
absolutely. I think it's about priorities, isn't it? So if you're, just think about if you're a comms director and somebody's in a meeting and about to make a strategic decision that is going to lead the organization into a reputation disaster. So that a crisis very likely, that's a priority, and that's worth the personal discomfort of speaking up in the moment and risking people not liking you as the messenger. But there's something else in that as well around confidence, which is thinking, which I'm always urging people to consider. It's like, don't think about it as you saying it. So it's not necessarily right. It's me, Phil, saying it. It's like, what role am I employed in here? I'm an advisor on how best to build sales on LinkedIn, for example. I'm an advisor on how best to build relationships over social media. Therefore, would a person in that role be giving this kind of advice to the other person? And I think there's a separation then between what's personal power and personal permission and more of a role power and role permission. That can unlock a lot for people.
That's a great point, and we'll move on from that because that's a good point to finish that question on. So the second area I wanted to talk about, which is something that I'm framing a communications paradox. Ooh. One of the things that I've noticed in my career and in the work that we do is you have some people that are great communicators. Chances are they've worked a long time to get there. They're just great at external communications. They're compelling, they've got a good line of argument, and people listen to them. But sometimes those very same people are not very good at all at internal comms, and they're less good at bringing their team along with them. And I think, I've probably been that person myself at times in my career and thinking I was doing a great job on a pitch or something like that. But actually, my team's really fed up with the way that I've spoken to them about how to get there.
Yeah.
We've all had those moments, I'm sure, in our careers. But is that something that you observe? And what tips could you give both the people that are the leaders and also the people that are being led around that?
Interesting. Thank you. Well, first of all, I mean, you're already demonstrating the answer, which I love, which is that element of self-awareness. So you're looking back and you're willing to say, okay, I probably made those mistakes. And again, it's about that willingness to have some uncertainty and think, well, maybe I did get that wrong. So for a leader's point of view, oh my goodness, it's absolutely 101 of communication, and we often forget, we all do it, by the way, is we prepare quite a lot for external communications. We think about the audience, what is our objective, we think about how to best put the message, and then when it perhaps comes to our teams, it's like, I'm under pressure, I need to get this out now, I'll send an email. And we don't necessarily all think about how is that going to land. Whereas if there's an external message, chances are you've thought more carefully about it. So the first point is to really think about it. And I would borrow a tip that I tell to everybody because I think it's genius, by a lady called Liz Fosselin. And she's Liz and Molly on Instagram. They've written a couple of great books about emotional intelligence at work and succeeding at work. Excellent. I cannot recommend them more highly. But she says one of her tips is, and I'd never heard it put in quite the same way before, but emotionally proofread your emails. Any communication, but emails in particular, because they're so one way. You're absolutely in your own head when you write those things. And it's just take one moment. I'm not talking about you need to soften everything, or, I'm a big fan of direct, clear communication, but there needs to be an element of compassion, empathy for the person reading it. Take 1 minute to just think, how is this other person likely to be receiving it? What are they going to take out from it? And if nothing else, just not necessarily on an emotional landing space, but just, is there potential here for misunderstanding? Because there's huge misunderstandings across the board. And we don't need to go into that, but I am willing to bet that you, me, everybody we speak to has an example where we've had a scary email from a boss, from a client, and we've really taken it the wrong way and worried about it. And then when we've come to the issue, it's not been a problem. That's just a simple, easy tip. Just think more about your audience. It's like, if you're a communicator anyway, think about your audience. Sales teams will be doing that anyway. How do I reach the people that, and understand their minds? And if we take that a bit further, it's just about trust. Can your team trust you if you're a leader? And equally, if you're in a team, I like that spin on that question, by the way. So, what can you do if you're in that team? It's about building trust. If you're talking to more people about this, they're going to say the phrase psychological safety. So I'm going to throw it in the mix. But what I mean by that is just you create a condition where it's okay to speak up and you don't punish people for it. And when I say the word punish, lots of people will think, oh, but I don't punish people. There's different ways of punishing people. We can sideline the point they made. They can maybe not make it to the meeting minutes. Maybe that action is never picked up. Do you see what I mean? It's like those kind of things. But we need to be able to challenge ideas. We need to be able to admit mistakes. And for the team to be able to admit their mistakes too, so that we can kind of work on it. It's about making it safe. Make it safe to disagree. You can disagree without arguing. And I think that's really important. Again, it's like, in this team, in this role, can we disagree with each other? Is it okay to challenge ideas and to do it in a way that seems fair? And so we can pick over the idea, not the person. And that feels really important. And you did it. It's about acknowledging uncertainty, acknowledging mistakes. Nobody wants, I'm not suggesting for a moment, by the way, that we want leaders to be kind of going, oh, that was a terrifying call. I don't really know what we're going to do as a result. That's disastrous. But there is something where it's like, okay, I think I'm coming towards the answer. It looks like this in my head. What else could we add into that? What might I be missing? And without even putting people on the spot. So not saying, so Phil, what do you think? Which can be quite, confronting. But actually, if the trust isn't there. But what does everyone else think? What perspectives might we be missing? So by that, we depersonalize it. You can probably tell there's a bit of a trend here. So depersonalize it, uncouple it from the people. Let's look at the idea, what might we be missing? And actually, the thing that we do really badly, certainly in the PR industry, I would say, and this feels a bit damning, but for an industry that's creative and is about risk taking, we really do kind of I'm going to use the word punish again. I'm not quite sure if that's the right thing, but we dissuade people from taking risks. So if somebody is wanting to take a calculated risk, as long as it is calculated and well thought out, frankly, if the outcome doesn't work, we still need to celebrate people, being willing to do the brave work. So the last thing really I would say, again, it doesn't matter, leader or team member or someone in between, is just being willing to repair the relationship when you mess up, because you're going to mess up. We all do. We're not perfect Zen masters cruising around just la la la. I've never met anyone perfect. Have you met anyone perfect?
No.
So just be willing to say, I've realised that was a bit clunky. I mean, we don't have to fall on our swords either, but it's just like, hey, I'm really sorry how that came across. I was in a massive hurry. That's the reason. It doesn't excuse it, but can we talk about it? Or, repair the relationship. Don't just think, oh, that was awful, I'm embarrassed, and then not address it.
Well, one of the things I was going to say back to that actually just segues into the next question. So I'll combine the two, which is that I think a lot of the problem that exists in organizations is that so much of the communication is done electronically, and people don't take the time, to your first point, like put the same amount of effort internally as you do externally. And sometimes that might just be going around the floor and talking to people in small groups or doing town halls or something like that. And the third question was building on that really, which is around, since the pandemic and all the changes that we've seen around how work happens now, particularly electronically and doing things over video calls and that, how has that change the way that people communicate? And are there some things that we should be looking out for? Because in the old days we'd had team meetings, everyone would, you'd had a monthly get together, all of those kind of things happened. I think some of those are happening, but not as much as they used to, and not as much as perhaps is preferable. So as communicators, how can we get across get our message across and connect with people despite the fact that we're using electronic tools now?
Interesting question. I mean, because I have to say, I am a big fan of video meetings. They help save some time. They're really good actually for creating relationships where maybe, if you're working with someone across the world, which we all are these days, it's fantastic to be able to create those relationships, but they also come with their problems. And one of those is that we can't communicate naturally, in that there's always a cutout when one person's talking. If you see a real meeting, people talking, you can talk. I'm not suggesting we will talk over each other, but there will be layerings, and we can handle that. We've evolved to handle that, whereas there aren't. And so it can feel, people will talk and then there'll be someone else, it'll be quite stilted. And one thing to understand is that happens to absolutely everybody. And over the pandemic, I watched really good comedians go on Have I Got News for You? And it was so stilted compared to normal. And yet these are incredible performers in the most part. So one is, don't let that stop you. The second is, it's obviously preparation, as you've said, maybe just 2 minutes ahead of time. We're bouncing perhaps from meeting to meeting, but just to think, what do I need to take into this meeting in terms of me and my presence? And I describe it in a bit of a weird way, but I'm going to share it with you and see what you think. But I think there's a number of ways to show up, and it's about understanding what your role is. So decide, are you a host? So in this setting, you're the host. So I'm expecting certain things from you. You give me the cue about what's acceptable, how to behave, how you expect me to interject. And you've done all of those things, either with a pre-briefing or as we go through, you're bringing the conversation along, you're facilitating. And a good host will do that. So in other words, it's like if someone comes into your home, you tell them where they can put their coat. Do they need to take their shoes off? Where are they going to get a cup of tea? Where should they sit? And it's actually those kind of things where you're present and you're helping to include people, make sure that everybody has a voice in the way that they want it, which might not necessarily be speaking up. It might be about sharing things in the chat. And then if you are going to be turning up, then it's be a guest, not a passenger. So again, someone shows up to your home, they're going to bring you, maybe some flowers or some cookies, and they don't just show up and kind of just sit there and not talk. And they take an active part. And I see too many people being passengers and then just wait for their bit to talk and then they go back. Not that they intend to be, because they could well be fully present, but they're not necessarily showing that to the camera. So I think it's just that simple act. I've worked with so many people who have decided ahead of time, am I the host, am I the guest, and how might I act accordingly, will really lead then how you work with that setting. Because it can create good relationships, especially one-to-one like this. But when you've got a meeting with more than 3 people, there's a lot of awkwardness, there's a lot of silences and people interrupting. And a good host will expect that and work with people so that they naturally get past that. The other thing I would say is just to turn off your camera. So it's really off-putting to you to be seeing yourself on screen, and we're not meant to be budgies, kind of just who's a pretty boy, just and genuinely, particularly if you're doing a one-to-one meeting, and I'm hoping lots of people do it, but it's really distracting if people can see their own expressions. If you can turn off self-view and just look at the other person, it much more mimics what we're doing in real life, because that's what we want. We want to create understanding. We want to center the other person or the other people into our field of view so that we can have some empathy. That communication, after all, if we go back to confidence or about, leadership and being able to accept feedback on our performance, being able to accept challenge, it's all about understanding that other people are other people and their views could well be valid, and having some empathy and just being able to focus on them can be a way of listening better. And when you listen better, then you're able to make your points more clearly. You're able to make your points relevant to the audience, because that's, if I may, one final thing which runs through all of this, but I think video calls have made it worse, is it's all about broadcast. So it's like, oh, I've got these points. Right, we're on point 3. I've got to say this. I really need them to do this. Oh, I mustn't forget to say that. It's all about what we want to, maybe give the other person in terms of our expertise. And video calls are really bad for this because everybody's busy. We've got AI note takers that kind of suck the life out of rapport because we're aware that all of our chit chat is being recorded and then sent to people. I think that's actually a limiter. I love a note taker, don't get me wrong, useful for efficiency. But we haven't necessarily built in moments where we can create connection. Yeah. And that's important. And so if it isn't in that meeting, maybe there's 12 people, we just have to crack on, we've got half an hour, then how can you, if that other person and their relationship in a business sense is important to you, how do you have moments to connect electronically, over the phone, in real life, where you can just get to know each other a little bit better?
Yeah. I think there's a thing about, you've alluded to it a little bit there, about meeting formats as well. So when we're typically having a meeting, it's that broadcasting, it's giving a report, it's giving your KPIs, getting information across, and the other person's just waiting for their turn, not actually listening. But also, I think there is a place for having different kinds of meetings where you might do brainstorming, and people say, oh, you can't do that electronically. But there's lots of people I've worked with internationally who I've never met that we have to do exactly that. We're trying to generate ideas, we're trying to work together, but you also have to get used to things like the silence. And silence is okay. If you're both trying to work on something to come back to the screen with an idea, it's okay to be quiet.
Yeah.
And somebody's facilitating that well, and you understand the timeframes and all the rest of it. So I think some of those things we haven't yet worked out how to do collectively,
Yeah.
because we're still in this kind of like, I must put information across.
Yeah, so well put. And it's like, I think that the idea of being being comfortable with discomfort, and that's things like silence. Again, a good host, I hope, will make it okay to say, okay, I'm going to go quiet now, or I'm
Yeah.
expecting we'll all go off mic for the moment. I will be very explicit about that, I hope, as you would expect. So all of my training will have upfront housekeeping rules to help people feel comfortable, what, how they can get the best from the training session. But one is just to say, we need to embrace awkward Zoom silences, because there will be them. And then we count them as they come. We go, hooray, we name that awkward Zoom silence, and then we can work through it. So there's something about naming that discomfort as well, and just learning to sit with it and not have to solve it.
We're going to have an uncomfortable silence while I find my quickfire questions for you.
Oh,
So,
fab.
on a little piece of paper, like some kind of cheap game show host.
Love
So
it.
we've got five questions for you,
Okay.
Emma, to have a think about. And I'm just going to rattle through not rattle through them, but we'll go through
okay.
fairly quickly.
Would you like me to rattle through the answers too?
Don't rattle. Just just nice and brief, chit chatty style. So the first one is: who is the best communicator you have ever worked with or trained?
Wow. That's a really hard one because, one, I'm just going to insult everybody by not naming them. But equally, just people are so good at communicating, and I watch people really flourish. So I'm going to pick somebody who I trained with, who I can't say enough good things about. So this is Nancy Klein. She wrote Time to Think, More Time to Think. She is brilliant. It's all about, so I brought this
You've got a prop.
I've got a prop too, just because she signed it for me, and wonderful personal dedication. If people listening, and if you haven't read any of her books, I'd advise you just to take even a shallow dive in what she does, because she absolutely walks the talk, and it's all about listening. She's such a powerful communicator because of it. The way she listens is almost like a physical thing. But it's all about curating an environment for people to do their best thinking. She's all about thinking. So best communicator, bar none. She is amazing.
And that is no offence to all of the other people that you know.
No, completely not. But I mean, sometimes you meet, she is just the absolute pinnacle.
I'm going to do another recommendation one on you, I'm afraid. So other than yourself or me, who would you recommend to offer training in a related discipline?
Interesting. So over the years, so I've been doing this a long time now. Obviously, I worked in the PR industry, and then I set up Big Fish Training. And I've got a really good collective of people around me who will do the training with us, and so partner with us. And so I have to call them out, particularly. So we've got brilliant people who look on the what's the word? I'm struggling for words now. Presentation skills side or the leadership skills side, Danny Lou and Joseph. But the person I've been working with for the longest, and for very good reason, is somebody who is so good at words. You look at her website and her LinkedIn, I do words, is Lorraine Forrest Turner. She is an author, a playwright, just a fantastic copywriter, can count the World Health Organization during the pandemic as a client. She really understands how to help people write well. And I've got to say, yeah, fantastic. I would recommend her.
You've done some webinars with her, haven't you? I've seen some of those.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Question 3. If you weren't running a training business, what would you be doing instead?
Oh, such an interesting question. My immediate kind of just absolute reflex answer to that is, without really thinking about it too much, is just I'd study. And I don't know what I'd study. I mean, the joy of my job means I have to be learning all the time. I've got to stay current. I've got to look at what AI is doing to comms. I've got to, but yeah, if I wasn't doing this and I had the luxury of not necessarily having to earn a living, that's what I've decided to take from this question. I would go and study maybe neuroscience and communication, maybe something, I don't know. I don't know what I'd study. I would just learn for learning's sake. And I think that would be a joy.
What would be give us a left field topic that nobody, even your husband, would expect you to answer with?
Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, I know. Okay. So maybe it would be about maybe other people have obviously studied this, but yeah, the effect of music on your brains and on your happiness. That might be a fun one to do. Get the science of it in there.
Oh, we could have a podcast on that. We'll set that up
Fab.
another time. So, next question: what's your all-time favorite retro computer or video game?
Oh, that's quite a mean question, but it probably, just in terms of the effect it had on me and the joy that it's given me in my life, would be Command and Conquer.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you might say that one.
I know. Yeah, a bit predictable.
And I know you're also a big music fan. You get to lots and lots of live music.
Yeah.
Can you give us a live music tip? Who, like an undiscovered artist or someone that you think deserves more attention?
Oh, okay. So again, that's a bit difficult because I go to probably 2 or 3 concerts a week.
Oh
I know it's ridiculous, but I love music. That's why I love music. But just in terms of, so people may not love these choices, but in a confident way, I'm going to share them. So the first is my absolute first love of bands. I'm going to give you 3, by the way. So the first is a band called Cardiacs, which I was just coincidentally drinking my tea from today. So I've loved them since 1987. They're on tour next year. They are interesting musicians. They are really not to everyone's taste, but if you love them, you love them. The second one would be something quite different, but a fantastic singer-songwriter called Grace Petrie. She is just full of heart. Her songs are incredible. They're very moving, but she's hilarious. And she's actually just done a stand-up comedy tour because her banter between songs is so on point and great. She could really, appreciate your support. And it's a very wonderful community united feel when you go and see her. So you could be part of something special. And then just some pure pop, pure energy, pure love. The Lottery Winners. Any concert of theirs is just massive celebration. They're doing a big... I can't remember what it is. I bought tickets for it. It might be the Roundhouse or it might be O2 Academy in London in the summer. Get yourself there. It's just a party.
That's very eclectic. You've covered a lot of taste there. Oh, that sounds good. And final question before we finish up. And thank you again for giving us your time today. But final question, if you had a motto, what would it be?
Oh, okay. Can I cheat and borrow it from my favourite film?
Of course.
Okay. So is from Bill and Ted, and it's be excellent to each other and party on. Party on, dude. But it sounds a bit weird coming from a middle-aged woman. But yeah, be excellent to each other and party on. It feels like the right way to approach life.
Yeah. Oh, I do like that. We shall include that in any show notes and follow up on this. Thank you so much, Emma. I've really enjoyed our chat. Well, we should do a follow-up on this. There's so many other things we could dive into. We've only had a little bit of time together, but hopefully useful for everybody as well.
I hope it's been useful, but thank you so much. You've made it so enjoyable. And I'm always up for another chat. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, we'll leave it there, and I'll probably play out some music if we put this up on audio. So let's play the music.